Welcome back to Direct Station, where politics and planets collide and converge. I am Kate Carey. For those just tuning in, we're tracking the planetary and earthbound events happening all around us each day. My goal is to invite you into a conversation about how cosmic patterns, flow with that phrase, might help us to understand our own power and our potential as we navigate these extraordinary times. Come as you are, bring who you've been, and bring who you're becoming. And let's figure this out together. We are alive at a mind-blowing and extraordinary time in history, in which each day reminds us that we cannot imagine what is unfolding. What I'm noticing is that everyone around me, regardless of what they've studied or practiced or attended to, they seem to know that something important is about to happen. What I'm noticing in myself is that each day proves to me that I had a failure of imagination until we got here. There's no part of me that thought what happened this morning was going to happen, and so on. One of the most hopeful metaphors I use for this time is that I think of the moment on a roller coaster where it's ticking to the top of a big hill. It feels suddenly like this is more ominous and dangerous than I necessarily agreed to. Like it's the biggest roller coaster at the biggest park, right? And you're strapped in and you're riding up that hill, and suddenly it occurs to you that this is more ominous and more dangerous than you necessarily agreed to. And we're looking at our laps and we're saying, wait, who built this belt though? Who decided this was the way to test and experience gravity? Who decided that this was supposed to be fun? Can I get off, right? The answer, of course, is no. But what we know about this metaphor is that we are going around these loop-de-loops for sure at this point. And there's no better belt in the conveyance. So the only thing left to do is put our hands up and enjoy the guttural screams coming out of us at each shift. Let it flow. Let yourself flow. Let the feelings that come to you as each thing unfolds, this wild change that is happening to you and everyone you love. You are here for a reason on this planet at this time with these people. Ride the wave. Some of the most powerful astrologers right now are saying you have no choice. Ride this. Wait for more information, more ideas, more opportunities, more possibility, and use your mammalian instincts to survive and thrive in this. I think all the time about the tsunami in Thailand in 2004. There's this story about the elephants with tourists on their back, which is a different topic I'm sure we'll discuss at some point. But these elephants with the tourists on their back took off, leading their minders behind, heading for higher ground. That has to be us now. We have to use our instincts to survive, to thrive, to affect the flow of what's happening next. It's not all going to be natural disasters this time, right? There'll be lots and lots of human-caused events. Which events will you cause? Let's first better understand the landscape. March has arrived, y'all. We are in the month where we crest the hill. Period. It's just true. Let's look at what we can see so far about how this great adventure of 2025 really begins to unfurl around and within us. We are bodies on a planet affected by other bodies, other planets. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical aspects of this wild moment that's been unfolding with alarming speed: the rise of authoritarian tactics in American governance and global politics. I want to explore how current planetary positions are creating eerie echoes of the past and are bringing into stronger cadence the shadowy regimes that have endured since, and why, within that, there is cause for hope. Promise. Stick with me. So I'm looking, of course, at what's happened with the Trump administration's latest moves and their powerful authoritarian pallor. We're seeing signs of power over, of controlling, of cruel, cavalier moves by what feels more every day like a mafia state or a bully state, where the law is used by the powerful to expand their power and where the law cannot touch or stop them. The quote floating around in many circles is from a Peruvian general who led with corrupt authoritarian fascist control in the 1930s, and he said, "For my friends, everything; for my enemies, the law." And so it is now. becoming rapidly in the United States. I want to emphasize as I start this conversation with you that there are progressive themes and moves that, if completed, would arrive us cataclysmically in like an Ayn Rand novel, in which the young hero tells us how it is to live there. Here's one example from Rand. There is no way to rule innocent men. The only power any government has is the power to crack down on criminals. When there aren't enough criminals, one makes them. One declares so many things to be a crime that it becomes impossible for me to live without breaking laws. So if we are to avoid arriving at the level of state control we see rising around us, we must first name it, understand what it is correlating with in the sky, and where we know hopeful and meaningful opportunities might lie. My dear friends, remember that Hitler transitioned Germany's Democratic Republic to a fascist state in less than 2 months. As I record this, we are on day 40, hour 21, minute 44. Second 52. Here's what we're seeing over these last few days. The public humiliation and bullying of a beleaguered and brave wartime president of a democracy that is our ally in the Oval Office because he won't surrender unconditionally to peace terms he hasn't been offered, amidst the reversal of foreign policy that has us canoodling with everyone's totalitarian psychopathic enemy, Vladimir Putin. Or they're announcing that they'll be selecting which American journalists are allowed in the presidential press pool, excluding Reuters and the AP, while suddenly allowing Russian state media into the Oval Office to live stream the spectacle with Zelensky. Or they're establishing these chilling extra-legal camps for asylum seekers between borders, where anything can happen to bodies and lives. Or they're revoking security clearances from attorneys whose politics they don't like, so that anyone experiencing legal persecution or hardship that involves classified information will no longer be able to use one of the most impactful DC law firms to keep them out of dangerous circumstances. We're seeing the Department of Justice has disbanded its foreign influence task force that tracks the influence of enemies on our democracy, disbanding that, saying that it's going to instead spend more time and energy cracking down on urban violence. That, of course, is code for poor people, for Black people, for brown people. We're seeing governmental lawyers being tested and fired in huge numbers when they give the slightest indication that they might not be willing to persecute without reason the president's enemies. We're seeing rising commentary about how the administration should and will, in the end, overtly defy court orders. They are already doing so through loopholes, through delay tactics, through obfuscation. So this is the rise of authoritarianism in our homeland. Every single one of these systems I just named were wildly imperfect before this started, and every single one of these systems will be far more dangerous, far more ungovernable, and far more unleashed in this new environment. One can see a clear astrological signature that connects directly to historical patterns of authoritarianism and cruel state-sanctioned destruction of lives and bodies. Let's focus on 3 powerful planetary positions creating this echo, creating this discernible pattern with the past. First, we have Uranus and Taurus. Right now, Uranus, the planet of disruption, revolution, and sudden change, is moving through the skyland of Taurus. It's been there since 2018, and it's about to leave for good in July. We've been talking for days about how these endings feel like death rows. As we're finishing something out, it gets more powerful, more volatile. And Uranus, Mr. Chaos, is certainly capable of anything. But quickly, a metaphor that helps me on this one, I think about my daughter, probably many daughters, as she got ready to go to college. This time of us living in this parent-child dynamic where things are safe and predictable is coming to an end, right? And so she starts blowing me off. She starts picking fights. She starts breaking rules, right? I tell other moms going through this that they have to break up with us while they're still here because otherwise their hearts will break once they step away. They want to grieve while we can still cook them breakfast. So as things are ending, they get messy. they get unpredictable. They start fraying. And things start becoming hard to contain, hard to process. And while Uranus leaves the part of the sky he's been in since 2018, it's getting very messy. Okay, so let's talk about the part of the sky. The Taurus neighborhood is about dependability, stability, resources, honesty, and, well, a coziness. Does that give you a picture? It's a nice place, the skyland of Taurus. And while Mr. Chaos, Mr. Bull in the China Shop, strolled in there in mid-2018, he had popped in a few times in the years leading up to this, but in 2018, he came to stay for a while. Came to wander through the quiet streets, flinging sharp objects and disruptive ideas, and sort of like a tornado approach to the Shire, if you will. So when Uranus disrupts Taurus, we see rigid ideology rise up regarding resources. We see nationalism, insecurity feelings leading to increased anxiety about one's own or the public's security. We see a surge of rigidity across boundaries or borders around dividing lines. This is me, and this over here is you. We are not the same, right? We see conflicts over territories. We see economic protectionism. And because all of this is rising, it is easy to rile up the populace. If this energy is rising in me and someone is provocative and talking to me, and by the way, I'm interacting with an algorithm that is designed to activate me, it is easy for authoritarian leaders to use stability and safety, these are Taurus themes, to justify policies of control and a dramatic reduction of rights. When Uranus disrupts Taurus, we see in history rigid ideology around resources, nationalism, and security. The last time this exact same transit occurred was from 1934 until 1942, precisely when authoritarianism was consolidating across Europe. In the 1930s in Germany, this manifested as a blood and soil rhetoric, economic protectionism, violent, disruptive obsessions with national boundaries and interlopers, who enough leaders and enough citizens in enough places saw in Jewish people, for example, living among them. But everybody saw threats, potential threats in like the nation next door or in neighbors. They saw it even in family members. Does this sound familiar to you? We have vivid examples in the lifetime of people living now of how bad this can get before it ends. We have to remember that while we watch it unfold, wondering where it will end. Today, here, we see America First policies. We see a border fixation. We see economic nationalism. Like, screw it. Tariff them. Don't worry about it. Let them try it. This mirrors earlier patterns with an unsettling precision. For Christ's sakes, we are at odds with Canada. The time before this transit in the 30s was in 1850 to 1859. Okay, so what happened then? Certainly a rise in all these themes. Napoleon's coup d'etat occurred, as did a kind of government in Austria called neo-absolutism. Doesn't that sound cozy? In which you see the common themes of censorship and repression, top-down, military enforced reform, and profound bureaucratic control of daily life. This was Franz Joseph, if that name rings a bell. And if it doesn't, trust me, it was a rough patch in Austria. You saw the rise of nationalist movements all over Europe. Here in the US, you saw the common adoption of the phrase manifest destiny, which is an articulation of that territory ought to belong to us no matter who lives there. All of it, all the way to the sea. You'll see that our president is fond of many vocabulary words and policies from this time. He used manifest destiny in his inauguration speech, talking about how we must expand our territory to include Greenland and Panama. So you're seeing a rise in America of economic rigidity and resource conflicts. There's not enough stuff. You're seeing the commodification of land in unprecedented ways. You are seeing in the 1850s, you're seeing an expansion of slavery into new territories with the Kansas-Nebraska Act. So the expansion of brutal control over Black bodies expands. You're seeing the unconscionable Dred Scott decision in which the Supreme Court temporarily cements racial boundaries, deciding who is a person and who is not, who is a citizen deserving of legal recourse and who is not. This is me and my people over here. You are not like us. Go over there. So 2 is a trend and 3 is a pattern, right? So the pattern here across these 3 time periods, the 1850s, the 1930s, and now, is intensified nationalism and nativism, conflicts over resources and territory, a hardening of social and racial boundaries, economic protectionism, and authority figures telling us that it'll be safer for everybody if we just roll with it. Trust us, they say. We'll protect you from dangers you do not understand, and we can control. So when Uranus, Mr. I'm bored, let's get into a fight, let's get into some chaos, let's see what happens if we light this sacred thing on fire, transits through Taurus, the cozy place. He creates disruptive change and the desire for increased stability and security. My place is the coziest place, and anyone who's not like me is dangerous and must be controlled or removed so that I can keep my cozy. We're seeing signs of this now in comments from people such as, I didn't know this was going to happen to me. I thought it was just going to happen to those DEI people. Right? So this often results in rigid ideological positions around resources, boundaries, and identity. If you're not like us, I'm not worried about you. Nobody thinks those restrictive rules will come for them. Y'all, we are living in a fractured information environment where people much, much, much wealthier than us got much, much, much wealthier by fostering these divisions, this unconsciousness. And honestly, this illusion that some might get hurt, but not mine. When we throw a rules-based order out the window and we, or our dad, or our best friend isn't in charge, we are all fucked together. You are welcome here, no matter who you voted for. Let's figure this out together. Let's figure out what we do now to get out of it. Okay, so that's thing 1, Uranus moving through Taurus. Thing 2 is Saturn in Pisces. Saturn representing authority, structure, limitation, constriction. Think bossy, controlling father figure who loves you but doesn't fuck around and is leading you through a hard lesson that will ultimately improve things. But Jesus, it's brutal while you're learning. That's Saturn. If you've had an experience like that, where you're like, this kicked my ass, but now I get it, and I have grown as a human, and I'm in some strange way thankful for that. That's Saturn. Like, I could show you the place in your birth chart where like Saturn was crossing over something important in your chart. You won't know this probably, but in astrological circles, people fear this sort of thing. People fear Saturn. Like, woo, Saturn's on my so-and-so, or Saturn's conjunct, or it's gonna be conjunct this or that. And well, honestly, it often is. So this bad force something is currently moving through Pisces, the skyland of collective consciousness, imagination, and healthy boundaries. Whatever Saturn touches, he constricts, he constrains, he limits. When Saturn tries to control Pisces energy, the wild child concerned with healing and wholeness, we see attempts to structure collective imagination, to define what can be thought or expressed. In practical terms, this looks like controlling media narratives, determining who has access to information, and creating rigid boundaries around acceptable speech. We have all lived through movements in recent years where there were forbidden words, morality tests, and things that must not be stated or even thought. Saturn entered and stayed in Pisces. He was bopping in and out before then, in March of 23. And he will be there teaching us something about compassion, creativity, and taking care of one another even when we're different while he's there. We're seeing all of this play out with the press and even the tone of this new White House press secretary who's irritated and dismissive when anyone says anything that violates the code of truth she has laid down in her press room, right? There's this kid, he's like a 20-something child on Instagram who's doing this unbelievable impression of the Galactic Empire's press secretary in this tone of it, like irritated intolerance and dismissiveness. Like, one of the reporters asks about the relationship between Darth Vader and the Emperor and like what actually is Darth Vader's role. It's lovely. I cannot find the name of it. I looked for it to try to tell you about it, but it's great. If anybody finds it, tell me and I'll tell everybody. Before this period, Saturn was in Pisces in the mid-90s. And when that was true, we were seeing the post-Soviet authoritarian reconsolidation in Russia. We saw surveillance capabilities rise even in democracies. We saw nationalist movements rising in Eastern Europe. We saw, importantly, consequentially, media consolidation in the United States. This, of course, at the time was not combined with the chaos and cozy land stuff that we were just discussing before. Another period of Saturn in Pisces was the mid-60s, where you see the authoritarian purge of the Cultural Revolution in China. You see increasing surveillance of the civil rights movement in the United States. You see COINTELPRO. You see military coups in Brazil, Ghana, Indonesia. Again, in the 60s, though, the Uranus and Taurus thing wasn't happening. So you had one big thing happening at once instead of two. Does that make sense? You're just giving birth this month. You're not giving birth and moving to a new state this month, right? Just one intense thing. So you see the rise of authoritarian tendencies in these periods, but they're not as intense. It's the combo of Saturn, Mr. Constraint, in the skyland of public imagination, and Uranus, Mr. Chaos, in the skyland of cozy. So the last time we had that particular combination, I'll let you guess when. Saturn was in Pisces from 1935 to 1938, during the consolidation of Nazi power and the expansion of their propaganda machinery. Okay, so I do have a wrinkle to share at this time. We have a third element that the 30s did not have. This, I'm telling you, is why astrologists have been staring at this this year and next year for decades, saying what in the entire world is happening in 2025 and 2026, starting in March of 25. And well, now they get to find out, and so do we. We're just catching up. They've been knowing. I'm trying to share. So I said there's a third thing. So you got childbirth, you're moving states, and you're starting a new job. All three things are happening at once. Any one of these three things would be a lot, but all three. What? So I know I wear you out a little when I introduce too many things at once, so I'm going to keep the third thing pretty simple for today. We can get into it another day. I did touch it a bit in episodes 2 and 3, but just briefly, tolerate me here. This is important. So thing 1 is Uranus, chaos, and Taurus, cozy. That's about to end. Uranus is about to move on to the next place. Thing 2 is Saturn, constriction, and Pisces, imagination. That is also about to end. And thing 3 is Neptune and Pisces. So Neptune, I told you a few days ago, is finishing a very long cycle. He is getting to the end of the zodiac. He is getting to the end of the cycles of the sky, the cycle of the skylands. He's gone all the way around the circle, just like hands on a clock. The last time he was where he is now was in 1862. And while it's leaving Pisces, it's going to conjunct with the North Node, the head of the dragon, which is, many believe, across cultures, our fate, our destiny. So I'll go deeper into the Neptune part as this progresses, but for today, I think the most important thing to remember is that we've got 3 things happening at once. Thing 1 is repeating a cycle that has echoes in the 30s and 50s. Thing 2 is a cycle repeating that has echoes in the 60s, 90s, and 1930s. Thing 3 is a cycle repeating that has echoes in the 1860s and, by the way, the 1690s, which includes the Salem witch trials and the birth of Bach and Newton writing a foundational world-changing text. Isn't that so much? So say you didn't want to learn which planet means what or which skyland represents what. Just do a mental exercise and draw a massive Venn diagram using those dates. The 30s, the 60s, the 90s, the 30s, the 1850s, the 1860s, the 1690s. And just make a list in the middle of all the things that these periods of time have in common. Just do the mental exercise, right? These 3 planets, Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune are about to change signs, about to change skylands. That, my friends, is the hope. Each of these moments were about massive change. They were followed by periods of progress. They were followed by periods of generative creation, discovery, relative peace, relative prosperity, evolution. What awaits us? What awaits us? Only we possess that answer. Only humanity will answer that question. The astrologists do not know. You are here on this planet at this time with these people. Every single one of us. No matter who we voted for. Right? Do you see how silly that defining line is? It's as arbitrary as any of the others. We are all going to live through it no matter what. And we are all going to need to take care of our families, our neighbors, our countrymen, no matter what. Using this meta perspective to gain some peace of mind, to stretch beyond our own personal anxiety, fear, it's a lot to be on the uphill swing of a roller coaster. But there's much to do and learn and use to generate who we will be when this planetary storm passes. How we behave now, who we become now, what we are to each other now will be the answer to what happens next. If you want to understand these patterns and how they're affecting you personally, I offer readings that help people navigate their unique relationship with these energies. I like to call it your assignment. Like, what is it that you're charged with doing in this lifetime? My specialty is sort of helping you sort that part out. What might be transformative for you and for your work and for your impact on the planet at this transformative time. So let me know if you want to do that. As we close today, though, I offer 3 things. First, an action, document and archive. History shows that authoritarian regimes attempt to rewrite reality. Save screenshots, download important documents, support archival projects. The act of bearing witness is itself a form of resistance. Journal your heart out. If you don't know what morning pages are, I will briefly say, because it's so worth doing, even if you don't think of yourself as a writer. When you wake up, before you do anything else, after you have a glass of water and use the potty, sit down with a piece of paper and pen, like actual physical paper and pen, and write for 3 pages without thinking or judging. Just for stream of consciousness. It can be about nothing in the world. It can be about everything. Just make yourself do it for 3 pages. That's it. Second, a reflection. Where in your own life are you experiencing the tension between authority and truth? Are there places where you have been silent that might need your voice? Are there places where you yourself have been intolerant, where you have reacted to these energies by disregarding the experience or ignorance or vulnerability of somebody else? Where you have staked out your claim on your territory or your identity or your border? Where have you disregarded someone else's voice or humanity in order to increase the volume of your own? Part of the reason you're here now is to learn this along with everybody else around you. I have caused harm, systematically, unconsciously, periodically, in small ways and in some big ones too. Every single one of us has, right? The ones we like, the ones we don't like. Where are you causing harm? Where are you struggling with this tension between truth and authority? This is our opportunity now to learn this lesson, right? This strict father figure is asking us to learn something. What is it that you personally have to learn in this time? I know there's something. There is for each of us. So James Carville says, if we like everyone in our coalition, we are not in a coalition. We don't have to like each other. We just have to want the same thing for ourselves and everybody alive. Freedom, kindness. Zelensky last night was talking about a just peace, right? Rules we can all live by, safety. We have lived in a world for too long where these things have only been available for some, and I honestly do believe with my whole heart that this cataclysmic situation in the sky is our moment to fix that, to devise a new way of being. So as these 3 planets change location, change neighborhood at the same fucking time, what are we going to do with that opportunity? Nobody alive has ever seen all 3 of these things happening at the same time. What will it cause in each of us? And in the collective, what will we become? We are all free agents. How will we react to what is rising and what is possible? Third, I want to share some inspiration from Langston Hughes, who in 1936, during the rise of fascism, wrote, "Let America be America again." Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It was never America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned, with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real, and life is free. Equality is the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today, despite that dream. Beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore, and Poland's plain, and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today? The millions shot down when we strike? The millions who have nothing for our pay? For all the dreams we've dreamed and all the songs we've sung and all the hopes we've held and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay, except the dream that is almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, the Indians, the Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me an ugly name if you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain from those who live like leeches on the people's lives. We must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. We are America, y'all. I'll speak to you in a day or two. Until then, please remember that while planetary cycles create patterns, humans make choices within those patterns. We have free will. There are patterns in the sky that tell us what these chunks of time will become, but they don't give us fact patterns, right? They give us structures within which to build, within which to be, within which to become, within which to find each other again. May you find both clarity and courage as these transits work on you, on your heart, on your people, on your day-to-day, on your country. May you be well. May you be conscious. May you be kind. I'll see you soon.